how do you look back at your career and like, and what performances stand out to you?
I think there's kind of two big buckets. I mean, there's like the one big obvious bucket of Prefontaine, winning the world championships, medaling in Rio, you know, those moments that are like people are going to put on your resume, the big resume ones. And then there's that other bucket where like lesser known either races or experiences that like, if you know, if you were there from the very beginning to the very end, and you were close or on the inner circle, you understand there were kind of pivotal moments that weren't necessarily the big public splash. One of those to me is when I won the indoor mile, the indoor conference championship in the mile. This is such a great example because I love to say that of all the people in the world that made me a great athlete, the person who deserves the most credit is Sally Kipyego, because I was second to her for so many years in college. And I look back and I just think if I had won everything and been the queen of NCAAs for 3 or 4 years, I think my journey would have turned out differently. But because of Sally, I just had to push for so many years to be good and to try to truly just to close the gap between me and her. And I just was inching closer and inching closer. And then our last head-to-head race in college was a mile. So I had a little bit that favored me a teeny tiny bit, especially now that we know how I ended up being good at the 1500 in the mile. But it's the only race I ever beat her. It was the last time we ever went head-to-head. And that was a really like galvanizing moment for me because it's something that I had really tried. It's somebody I tried to run down for 3 years, and it took 3 years to even get close. And then I had to be in exactly the right race on exactly the right weekend. And finally got just one win against her. And anyway, she went on to have an incredible career. I went on to have an incredible career, and we're still friends to this day. And I think that's a really good testament to how your competition can really make you better.
I love that that's like one of your favorite moments, just, in that indoor mile race of all, like you mentioned, there's plenty of moments that people point to and be like, oh, those are like the quote unquote resume builders. You know what I mean? So I definitely love that. I'm curious though, of those ones that I'm sure people talk to you about a whole bunch, you've won so many medals on the world stage. Like, I'm curious, what's your favorite of those moments?
Oh man, it's so hard to pick. I feel like you could probably pull up different interviews over the years and I give a different answer. So I'm either undecided or I just say what comes to me in the moment. But I mean, it really is, there's something special about each world medal, each world and Olympic medal. When I won the world championships, it was a really big surprise. It was the first year that I ever, 2011 in Daegu, South Korea. It was the first summer that I ran the 1500 instead of the steeplechase. So it was a surprise because of that, because this is my first time trying it. And then also just the head-to-head competition, there were people that were better than me. And I was still making developmental jumps even into those first few years of my pro career. But I look back on it and I'm really proud of that run because I could have kind of hung my hat on that and said, what more do I want out of this career? But I went on to fight really, really hard and break for 10 more years after that. And so I'm really proud looking back, being like, that was a jumping off point. That wasn't a finish line for me. And then I think about Rio and I think no matter what, I had three medals by that point, a world championship, and then just the one, I'm sorry, in Moscow. But in 2016, if you medal in the Olympics, now the world has a measurement of you. You can say I'm a world champion or I'm a medalist at a world championship, and that means something in the track and field world. And it means a lot to other people as well, but it's just different when you say I'm an Olympic medalist. So that kind of holds, those two really hold special moments. And then I'm so proud of Moscow because I led so much of the race. It is so terrifying to lead the final of a 1500 meters anytime. even in like the Drake relays, it's frightening to take the lead and say, I'm going to run hard from the gun. And so taking the lead and holding that as long as I could in Moscow, I'm really proud of that. And then 2017 was just one of those magical years where, you know, I think it's probably the best lineup of 1500 meter talent ever in the history of our sport. I'm biased, but I think, you know, we had the current world record holder, the current Olympic champion, the current world champion. We had the European champion. And so many of those titles were on the shoulders of different people. It wasn't like there was one standout person. And so to run that race, to me, like 2017 silver in London was my best demonstration of my strategic tactical experience all coming together to execute perfectly. It wasn't the fastest race ever, but it became like a strategic, like total dogfight the last 300 meters. And I just had so much accumulated experience, and I just got it totally right on that day. So anyway, you asked for one and I gave you four. Sorry, but they're all really special.